Welcome to This Day in His Story, created by American Heritage Worldwide. A reminder that every day holds something new to learn. Did you know that the first words ever recorded were, "Mary had a little lamb"? Learn how Thomas Edison's invention of the phonograph grew from his work on the telegraph and the telephone. Learn that the working model of the first phonograph was built in just 30 hours. Discover that Edison imagined many possible uses for the phonograph that included talking dolls and clocks, audiobooks for people who were blind, language recordings, and recorded lessons for students.
For most of human history, sound was basically the ultimate ghost.
Oh, absolutely. It was just, completely ephemeral.
Right, like a word is spoken, or a laugh echoes in a room, maybe a song is sung, and the very second those sound waves hit the air, they vanish.
Just gone forever.
Yeah, gone. I mean, if you were sitting there in the 18th or early 19th century, you couldn't hear your great-grandfather's voice unless he was literally standing right in front of you.
Which is so hard for us to imagine now.
Exactly. But then this mechanical breakthrough happens, and someone manages to trap that ghost. They figured out how to catch a fleeting human breath and just freeze it in time.
And that fundamentally altered our relationship with mortality, with memory and time. We're looking at a really fascinating stack of historical texts today.
We really are.
We've got Thomas Edison's early laboratory logs, some excerpts on the rapid evolution of audio technology, and a beautiful feature on the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square.
I just love how all these sources weave together. Our mission on this deep dive is to trace the legacy of the recorded voice, basically.
Yeah, to see where it all started and where it led.
Right. We want to understand the sheer mechanical magic of Edison's phonograph. But more importantly, we're going to explore how that exact technological lineage allows us today to hear the protective, living counsel of a prophet.
Because capturing sound wasn't just like a clever parlor trick for the Victorian elite.
Oh, not at all.
It was a preparatory step. It paved the way for humanity to preserve its most vital, life-saving guidance. But, to fully grasp the spiritual weight of that, we have to look at the physical reality of how difficult it was to capture that ghost in the first place.
Let's start right there, actually. So it's the summer of July, 1877.
Right.
And Thomas Edison he's deeply entrenched in the business of communication. He's looking at the telegraph and the telephone.
The cutting edge of the time.
Exactly. But I'm looking at these laboratory notes from the source, and I'm genuinely struggling to picture the leap in logic here. The telegraph is just electrical pulses, right? A click or no click.
Yeah, just simple taps.
So how do you go from a simple tapping machine to capturing the incredibly complex acoustics of human speech?
Well, it really comes down to understanding acoustic energy. Like, sound isn't just an abstract idea, it's actually a physical force.
Wait, really? Like a literal force?
Yeah, exactly. When you speak, your vocal cords push air outward in a specific pattern of waves. And Edison was already working with a machine that transcribed telegraphic messages by using a stylus to make physical indentations on a paper tape.
Oh, I see.
So he realized, hey, if sound is just physical pressure, maybe that pressure could do the indenting itself.
Wait, so the actual force of a person's breath is doing the mechanical work? That's wild.
Exactly the concept. If you put a very thin, flexible disc, so diaphragm, right in front of someone's mouth, the acoustic waves of their voice will cause that disc to vibrate.
Okay, making sense so far.
Now, attach a tiny sharp needle to the center of that disc. As you speak, the disc vibrates, and the needle punches forward and backward in perfect synchronization with your voice.
So it's essentially, it's like a 3D printer for sound.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. Because you are physically carving invisible sound waves into a solid landscape so they can be touched, felt, and then, later replayed.
And the replay mechanism is the truly brilliant part here. Because if you drag a needle back over those exact same microscopic mountains and valleys you just carved,
it pushes the needle back.
Yes. It forces the diaphragm to vibrate in the exact same way, pushing the air back out. So the machine literally, physically exhales the words back to you.
That is mind-blowing. And the timeline for building this is what really gets me. Edison sketches out this concept, this metal cylinder wrapped in tinfoil with a crank on the side, and he hands it to his mechanic, John Crucy.
Right, his trusted guy.
And Crucy takes that piece of paper and builds a fully functional model in 30 hours.
Yeah.
Just over a day, from abstract theory to historical breakthrough.
And The funny thing is, Cruzy actually thought it was a ridiculous idea. He reportedly told Edison there was absolutely no way it would work.
But it did. I mean,
Yeah.
Edison leans into the mouthpiece of this bizarre crank-operated contraption. He just shouts into it, "Mary had a little lamb."
A nursery rhyme.
Yeah, nursery rhyme. He resets the needle, turns the crank, and out of the machine comes his own voice. He captures an atmospheric disturbance and turns it into an archivable artifact.
You really have to think about what that meant for the people alive at that moment. The human voice was, well, it was no longer tied to the biological limits of the human body.
Right, it could outlive you.
Exactly. A person could speak and their voice could persist long after they left the room, or even left this earth.
So Edison immediately takes this on the road. We move from this 30-hour workshop miracle in the summer to the public debut in the winter.
December 1877.
Yes, December 1877. He walks into the New York City offices of the Scientific American magazine, and the source gives us the exact excerpt from their December 22nd issue, and the bewilderment is just palpable.
Oh, they were stunned.
They wrote, "Mr. Thomas A. Edison recently came into this office, placed a little machine on our desk, turned a crank, and the machine inquired as to our health, asked how we liked the phonograph, informed us that it was very well, and bid us a cordial good night."
I mean, just imagine sitting at your desk in 1877, surrounded by paper and ink, and a metal box politely asks about your health.
I would have lost my mind.
It was completely unprecedented, and the media reaction was instantaneous.
It was basically a 19th century viral tech demo.
It really was.
The phonograph became this overnight sensation splashed across newspapers worldwide. By January 1878, which is barely a month later, the Edison-speaking photograph company is established.
Moving fast.
Super fast. And Edison nets $10,000 for the manufacturing rights, which was an absolute fortune back then.
Oh, yeah.
But hold on, I have to point out a massive logical flaw in his design here.
Oh, the tinfoil.
Yeah, the tinfoil. If you're dragging a sharp metal needle across soft tinfoil, aren't you literally destroying the recording every time you listen to it?
Yes, you are.
So how could that possibly be a commercially viable product?
Well, you've hit on the exact reason the initial hype crash. It wasn't commercially viable.
It wasn't.
No, the tinfoil tore after just 2 or 3 plays. Plus, it was incredibly finicky to operate. If you didn't turn the crank at that exact same speed during playback as you did during recording...
Oh no, the pitch would shift.
Right, the voice sounded distorted and terrifying, like a monster.
So this looks like a classic tech bubble. You have this mind-blowing viral demo, a massive influx of cash, but a product that the average person can't actually use in their daily life.
A tale as old as time in tech.
Did this almost end up as just a forgotten novelty?
It could have. The gap between a visionary demo and practical application is often decades long. You know, the hype bubble absolutely burst. People grew bored of the fragile tinfoil novelty.
Sure, because it broke right away.
But the foundational physics had been proven. The issue wasn't the concept of recording sound. The issue was just the medium of tinfoil. It required someone to solve the friction problem.
Which, according to the sources, took 10 years. It isn't until the 1880s that Alexander Graham Bell steps in to further the research.
Right, the telephone guy.
Yeah, and by 1887, Edison reintroduces the machine. This time, they swap out the fragile tinfoil for wax cylinders.
And wax changed everything. Because instead of indenting a delicate foil that would inevitably tear, the sharp stylus could incise a clean, smooth groove directly into solid wax.
That makes so much more sense.
It does. The wax yielded to the needle during recording, but was hard enough to withstand the friction of a rounded playback stylus passing over it again and again.
So you could suddenly listen to a recording hundreds of times instead of 2 or 3.
Exactly.
And that durability is what triggers mass adoption.
Right.
Because once it's durable, they figure out how to make it cheap.
The economies of scale kick in.
Right. In 1891, purchasing a photograph cost $150. For the average family, that was completely out of reach. But as manufacturing improves, we see the standard model drop to $20.
A huge drop.
And then by 1899, the gem model is just $7.50.
Which is incredible. And that democratization of the technology is entirely tied to the manufacturing process.
How so?
Well, initially, if you wanted to sell 10 copies of a song, you had to have a singer perform the song 10 separate times into 10 different phonographs.
Oh, wow. That sounds exhausting.
It was. But with wax, they developed a pantograph system and eventually a molding process. So they could carve one master cylinder and pour molten wax into the mold to create thousands of identical copies perfectly and cheaply.
So it's like a luxury vehicle suddenly costing the same as bicycle in the span of a single decade.
Precisely.
It completely democratized who gets to be heard and whose voice gets preserved. Suddenly, you have dictation machines in offices. They put tiny wax cylinders inside dolls so they could speak to children.
Which were a little creepy, but yes.
Very creepy. You also have the early ancestors of the jukebox in public arcades.
True, but, Edison was looking far past jukeboxes and talking dolls.
They had a bigger vision.
Oh, a massive vision. If you look at his initial 1878 master list of predictions in the North American Review, which he wrote while the machine was still tearing tinfoil, mind you, he laid out a stunningly accurate roadmap of the 20th century.
Actually, I have that list right here. Let me read some of this.
Go for it.
He predicts audiobooks for the blind, recordings of music, clocks that announce the time, preserving languages and their exact pronunciations, and educational lessons for study.
It's spot on.
He basically invented the concept of the deep dive you were listening to right now.
He really did. But the true heart of his invention, the real why behind all this mechanical tinkering, is found in two specific items on that list.
Which ones?
He explicitly wrote down the preservation of family records, meaning personal histories in the speaker's own voice, and preserving the last words of a dying person.
Wow. Let that sink in for a moment. Just imagine holding a smooth wax cylinder in your hand, knowing that the physical breath, the exact inflection, the warmth of a loved one who has passed away is carved right into that surface.
Right. Edison understood that the greatest tragedy of mortality is the silence left behind.
The silence, yeah.
He built a machine to conquer that loss. He wanted to capture the voices that matter most, ensuring that essential wisdom, love, and counsel could survive across generations.
Which brings us to the profound realization of where this all leads. Because of this exact timeline, from Cruzy's 30-hour tinfoil miracle to durable wax, to the mass-produced records, all the way to the digital phone sitting in our pockets, right now we have the ultimate fulfillment of Edison's desire to preserve wisdom.
We do.
Today, this technology allows us to seamlessly and instantly listen to the voice of our prophet.
And that's the connection. The mechanics of the 19th century created the conduit for the spiritual preservation of the 21st.
Absolutely.
A prophet's voice can now cross time and geography instantly, but, to understand the weight of that, we have to understand the role of the voice speaking.
And the source material is very clear on this.
Yeah.
A prophet is a watchman. He protects us from spiritual dangers by directing us with his counsel. Now, picture the historical concept of a watchman. You build a tower and you place someone at the very top. From the ground, your line of sight is blocked by the trees, the terrain, the immediate obstacles in front of you.
You can't see what's coming.
Exactly. But the watchman on the tower sees the approaching danger from miles away and calls out a warning before you ever even know you are in peril.
That physical analogy applies perfectly to the spiritual reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're often bogged down by the immediate obstacles of our daily lives, unable to see the spiritual dangers gathering on the horizon.
We're just looking at the trees in front of us.
Exactly. The prophet stands on the tower, sees the danger approaching, and issues the protective warning.
And we live in an era of algorithmic noise, right? You scroll through endless feeds of conflicting opinions, anger, and distractions.
Okay.
It's like standing in a crowded valley where everyone is just shouting at you.
It's deafening.
It really is. The watchman sees over those algorithmic walls. And there is a piece of our source material that captures how we should respond to that. The Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square performs this beautiful rendition of the hymn, Come, Listen to a Prophet's Voice.
Such a powerful piece.
And the core message of that hymn isn't just about hearing, it's about learning and living the Word of God.
Because there is a vast difference between hearing a sound and actively listening to a voice.
Ooh, that's a great distinction.
Listening requires agency. The technology ensures the warning is broadcast. Edison took care of that. But the hymn is a call to action. It invites you to intentionally tune your ear to that specific frequency amidst all the noise.
I want to pose a question directly to you, the listener, right now. Think about the last time you received a text message from a loved one, maybe a parent or a close friend, giving you some advice. You read the words on the screen.
It's text. It's flat.
Right, it's flat. Now contrast that with receiving a voice note from them, where you can hear their voice shaking with emotion or hear the warmth and urgency in their tone. How does hearing the actual physical voice change the impact of the counsel?
It bridges the gap between the intellect and the heart.
Yes. Exactly that.
I mean, reading a transcript of prophetic counsel imparts the information,
Right.
sure, but hearing the inflection, the cadence, the spiritual weight carried in the vocal cords of the watchman, well, it makes the abstract warning intimately personal.
The physical evolution of recording wasn't just a march toward convenience. It wasn't just so we could stream music in our cars on the way to work.
Right.
It was a preparatory technology, developed and refined to ensure that the protective spiritual counsel of the watchman could reach everyone directly in their own ears, uncorrupted by distance or the passage of time.
It allows the watchman to stand in your living room, in your car, or in your headphones while you walk down the street. The warning is delivered with the full measure of the prophet's intent and spirit.
It really is the ultimate fulfillment of capturing that fleeting ghost of sound. I mean, we started this journey looking at a summer in 1877 where Thomas Edison recited a nursery rhyme into a crude piece of tinfoil just to see if a needle would bounce.
A 30-hour experiment.
Yeah, a 30-hour experiment. And we followed that thread through the fragile tech bubbles, the mass production of wax cylinders, and the staggering drop in price that democratized human memory.
We moved from a mechanical curiosity that, astonished the editors of Scientific American to a vital global network.
A network that delivers the most important protective messages possible right to our fingertips.
It's incredible when you step back and look at it.
The legacy of the recorded voice is undeniably a legacy of spiritual preservation. Which brings us to a final thought for you to carry with you after this deep dive ends.
Something to mull over.
Exactly. We talked about Edison's deep desire to create family records, his vision that voices should outlive the physical bodies that speak them. Since we are the beneficiaries of this miraculous technology, consider the records you are creating right now.
That's a great point.
If a prophet's recorded voice acts as a watchman for the entire world, what spiritual dangers might your recorded voice protect your own future descendants from?
Because your counsel, your specific experiences, the warmth of your own voice, those can be the family records that act as a personal watchman for the generations that follow you.
So what warnings, what love, and what wisdom are you leaving on the record? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. It has been an absolute privilege exploring the history of the recorded voice and the protective power of the watchman with you.
Keep listening to the voices that matter, and make sure you are recording the things that will matter to those who come next.
Take care, everyone. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Thank you for joining us for this day in His story. May the lessons of yesterday inspire you to see God's hand today and to play your part in His story now. For more faith-based learning, visit ahsworldwide.org, the homeschool for faith and family.